When We Were Young, 2024, all album plays, 57 records. And thankfully, they didn't do any more because the Emo Social Club is going through all of the records. And on this episode, we are talking about Taking Back Sundays, Tell All Your Friends. Lizzie, before we get into our opinions on this record that everybody knows, and there's a lot of information on, I'm sure, because they've been milking this record for a long time, tell us more about Taking Back Sunday and Tell All Your Friends.
It dropped on March 26, 2002 via Victory Records. The singles off of this album were Great Romances of the 20th Century, You're So Last Summer, and Cute Without the E. This charted 183 on the Billboard 200, which for an emo band during that time is fantastic.
Incredible for the time.
Now, this was certified gold in 2009 and platinum just last year in 2023. This was Victory Records' longest running Billboard charting album on the Heat Seekers chart for 68 weeks.
Yep. We don't need to go into the history of this. If you're watching this channel, you've listened to this record, I'm sure this will realistically probably get a super low amount of views because people will be like, I don't care what you think about this record that I've listened to 1,000 times. Like, who the fuck are these goofs? Who the fuck are these goopy goofs? And why are they saying anything about this record? Who cares?
Yeah.
This is the most like, why are you guys making a YouTube channel reviewing 20-year-old albums to me?
Because we have to legally, based on our own rules that we have set in place for this.
I'm leaving all of this in, by the way. Before we get into our opinions and our thoughts on Tell All Your Friends, make sure that you are subscribed. We're almost done. We are getting through all of these records. The festival is coming up. You want to know that all these records are reviewed. You want to know what we think about yours, your favorites, your least favorites, maybe albums that you've listened to as many times as this one. You want to know what we think. There's a playlist in the description with all of the albums in it. You can go and check that out now because by the time the festival comes, you will not be watching on the YouTube. You'll be too late. Watch it anyway though. Like do watch. Just know that you should start now so that you can get through it all and have all the information crammed into your tiny little emo brain before you show up at the gates at the festival. Here are my thoughts on Taking Back Sundays, Tell All Your Friends. Again, I feel like this is one of those ubiquitous records that like most people have heard. I was very against some bands in high school. It was mostly like Fall Out Boy, New Found Glory, like bands like that. But one of the other ones was Taking Back Sunday when this album came out. And I was like, I'm not into that. I'm into heavier stuff. I'm into more metalcore. I'm into the Used. I'm into like, you know, stuff with breakdown, stuff with screaming. That was more my style. I felt like there were like a lot of popular kids that were getting into like the Fall Out Boys and the Taking Back Sundays. And I was like, this isn't cool. It's not cool to be into these bands because all the popular kids are listening to them because they started popping off.
Yeah.
So I never listened to this record until Where You Wanna Be came out. And I listened to Where You Wanna Be and I was like, wait, is Taking Back Sunday fire? Is Taking Back Sunday really good? And then I still didn't listen to this record. And then Louder Now came out and I listened to Louder Now and I was like, wait, Taking Back Sunday might be one of the greatest bands of all time. So then I finally went back to this record. That was the first time I listened to it was after Louder Now came out.
Okay.
Because I had resisted so long. I think this record is very clearly a band that is going to go on, grow, and do beautiful, amazing things. Where You Want to Be, maybe my favorite record by them. Louder Now, game-changing record. Any band should be happy to have a record that sounds as good as Louder Now. This is the record that a lot of people identified because it was so different from everything else happening at the time, especially in rock music. Music played by bands, music played with guitars. It was very different. It had a more pop sense. It was very appealing to younger women, which was something that a lot of the emo scene and all this stuff was not doing, which is why they probably got a lot of shit at the time. But I do think that like it is just that transitional record from being a baby band, a new band, a band that has a lot going for them, a band with one of the best live performer singers in the game, parentheses, 2004. And I do think that like this record made so much of the scene that we love and identify ourselves with that its legacy is almost bigger and better than the record itself actually is. There's a lot I love on this record. There's a lot I go back to all the time. But I can't help but think that, like, man, I really wish that, like, this was Where You Want to Be. Because they got so much better after this record. Just objectively, they got so much better after this record. But I do understand why this is, like, their big one and their famous one. And I understand why they would choose to play this. Obviously, it is, like, their oldest record. But I mean, Where You Want to Be would be doing a 20-year right now. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if they did Where You Want to Be instead of that, like, come on, man.
Brian's front and center.
Dude, that record's so good. That record's so good.
Here are my thoughts on Taking Back Sundays. Tell all your friends. I found out about Taking Back Sunday the same way any teenage girl would, by watching Degrassi: The Next Generation. Sink Into Me was in one of the Degrassi shorts, which also had Taking Back Sunday in the Degrassi shorts.
Sink Into Me, by the way, underrated Taking Back Sunday.
Oh my
banger.
God, yes. It's such a
Heavily
good single.
underrated.
People keep forgetting about it, and it's so good. I went backwards from there. And then eventually I got to Tell All Your Friends maybe even like a year later. It took me a bit. Now, one of the first singles I heard off of Tell All Your Friends was Your So Last Summer. Then I was kind of hooked with it because I thought it was very different of a single than what I was used to during that time with the music I was consuming. And then I was finally able to listen to the whole album. I think overall, Taking Back Sunday with this album, they really did change the game during that time with what emo music was by blending the OG sound with this new school attitude and vibe, and also keeping kind of like that emo wave alive during that point when we had a big shift where we were going more into mall emo. I think that they are one of the pinnacles of emo music, and they have been so long lasting this entire time that I think it's very impressive. I think Tell All Your Friends is a really good album to the point where I would at least argue that majority of the songs on here could be their own individual singles. Everything could be a single, honestly, because they are all so played so consistently across the board, at least at, certain emo nights where you go, or a lot of people will know other songs that maybe aren't singles off of this album because it's just as catchy as one.
What are your standout tracks, your top tracks from Tell All Your Friends?
Wow, believe it or not, it's going to be Your So Last Summer. The lyricism, if you could slit my throat, and with my one last guess.
It's like so important. And
it's so great.
It was so overdone at the time. And yet looking back, you're like, what a perfect thing that happened to us.
Yeah.
What a great, perfect thing that Adam Lazarra did with that.
Honestly, truly masterpiece. And then Flavor Flav is in the music video for some reason.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Incredible.
I just think it's a really great song. It's still one of my favorite Taking Back Sunday songs, mainly because it's one of the other firsts that I really listened to. So I really enjoyed it.
The opener, You Know How I Do.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's the singles. Everybody knows the singles. You should all know the singles if you're watching this video. I can't imagine how you got to this video without knowing the singles to this record. For picking some that are not, You Know How I Do is like a great album opener. I feel like it showcases something that they do on the singles, but it doesn't have that like same poppy edge. And I think this is like what Taking Back Sunday does on a lot of their records, is they have their like pop singles, they're the ones that drop, and then they have their more like, this is what Taking Back Sunday is and how Taking Back Sunday has influenced the scene. And songs like You Know How I Do is like, this is Taking Back Sunday. This isn't a pop song. This isn't us like doing what any other band does. This is just us making what Taking Back Sunday sounds like. There's a few songs on this record that I'm like, you carried this through to other ones. And I think this is like, as an album opener, as like, if you're putting this on for the first time, hearing that, you go, okay, I know what Taking Back Sunday is. If this is where we start from, we go up, we go down, we go left, we go right from that point. So that's definitely one that every time I've listened to this record has always stood out. And I'm like, you never need to skip the opener.
Yeah, no, I agree. This was also one of my tops too. It's the opener to this song is literally comparable to the lights coming up on a band on stage that you're really excited to see.
Yeah.
And you're just losing it. And it's the best thing you've ever heard. And that is exactly what this opening track is.
I will also say that Timberwolves at New Jersey is another one that always I think about when I think about this record. I think the guitar riff at the beginning is so good, and I think that the rhythmic cadence to his singing and like the verses and all that, the chorus, like it has the same like catchy Taking Back Sunday style to it. But I think that does something a little bit different than the other singles do. That like Taking Back Sunday doesn't just do like a one note thing on this record. They always are changing it up, and they're always coming up with cool, interesting ideas for what to do in the songs. And like, even though they have a formula, they're constantly breaking that formula for like being fun and like keeping the energy up. So I think that's also one that has like really stuck with me since the first time I heard this record.
There's no I in team. I think the riff intro is fantastic. joint vocals are clean, seamless.
That's the Jesse Lacey call out. That's the brand new call out. So of course that's like a legendary track too.
Yeah.
Like that song has a life that exists beyond just what the song itself is.
I just also think the line "best friends means I pull the
fire.
trigger" like
it's fire. That changed
the
people.
game. That changed the chemistry of my dumb little brain.
This whole record is just aim away messages. No I in Team is not necessarily about like how Adam Lazarra and Jesse Lacey and John Nolan didn't all get along. It's more about who can write the better aim away messages. And like they were just mad at each other that like maybe yours are going to be better. Fuck you. Literally all the aim away messages that fucking like 5-year period were just brand new and Taking Back Sunday lyrics exclusively. And I was like, My Chemical Romance. And everyone was like, who?
All right. So do you have any spicy takes about this album?
Ghost Man on Third and Head Club are weak tracks. The reason that Ghost Man on Third kind of drags to me is that Adam is just doing like more wailing than singing. You could have written vocals here, but he's kind of just like, let me do Glassjaw for some reason. And he's not good at doing Glassjaw so much as he is at being like a lyricist and a singer. And like he does what he does really well. So like that song and Head Club just didn't really ring to me. Even listening to it again now, I'm like, these just drag. These just don't feel like there's a song, there's a structure here. And they do similar things on Where You Want to Be and Louder Now that I think are like the same idea they're going for on those songs, but it's better. It's just they perfected whatever they were trying to do on those. I will also say this is going to be a spicy take for some reason. Whenever I have seen this band perform this record, they nail it. And you're going to be like, I don't want to see it. Adam Lazarra is going to suck. Not on this, man. There was a period of time when this record came out that every emo band will tell you that Adam Lazarra was a fucking god. Everybody wanted to be Taking Back Sunday because he was just the most rock star person in a not a rock star genre yet. I think that he still is the same guy that did this. And I do think that when you watch them play this record, he's going to still be that same outward persona. I think it's a spicy take to say, no, actually, he's good singing this.
I think if in some ways he may just go into that part in his mind, he's like, we have to activate God mode right now.
Yeah.
And just rip it.
He's got a great personality. He's funny as fuck. The Southern Baptist preacher shtick. I love it.
When he came out, the first time he really started doing this, when I saw them at House of Vans, and he came out talking like a Southern gentleman, and
My Chemical Romance is here, ladies and gentlemen.
I had a friend with me at the time. I just think the only thing is that Blue Channel took a really long time to grow on me because simply the intro. It's just this weird, like, it just reminds me if I like tapped water and you're filming it and you're like, then it's like a transition into something. Yeah, like,
this is a legendary record that is untouchable and just... Again, I don't know why you're watching this video, but thank you.
Maybe you just want to see if we actually do Rage Bait, which we don't.
The Rage Bait is, you should go watch Adam Lazarra sing this album. Because people will be like, no, I'm not seeing that. It's like, no.
No, you should.
Well, those are our thoughts. Those are our opinions. But we have one more question we have to answer. Should you see Taking Back Sunday play Tell All Your Friends in full at When We Were Young Fest? And I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes. There's a good chance you might have seen them play this record before. There's a good chance you might think that Adam Lazarra is not going to perform this album very well. And I say to that, it's still worth it. And Adam does perform this record very well the time I have seen them play this record in full. If you haven't seen them play it before, if you haven't seen them do this record in full before, I think it's worth it. If you're concerned about Adam's voice, don't be concerned. He's going to crush it. This record is much easier.
I would say yes to this set because it's great. And Taking Back Sunday, again, they're always really fun whenever I see them. And I think this album live is phenomenal, no matter what. And if you're really concerned about his voice, pay attention to your own voice when you're singing the lyrics back anyway.
So those are our thoughts. That's where we will be. Where will you be? Hopefully in the comments down below. Check out the description where we have a full playlist of all the records that we've reviewed from when we were young. We're almost to the festival. This is your time. This is your place. Let us know what you think. Let us know where you've been. Let us know what you think about Adam Lazarra's voice. But until When We Were Young, and until Taking Back Sunday, and until Tell All Your Friends, we'll see you there.